Well, hello everyone. This is Carrie Beck with Family eBiz, and I am here to talk to you today about freedom in business. I was sort of trying to get this, so I was outside. I'm in Texas. It is quite warm. Yes, I am sweating, but that's okay. My grandkids have been following me all over this house, sort of telling me where to go and what to do. I don't know if this caught, so we'll just start again. This is Carrie Beck with Family eBiz. We're talking today about freedom in your business. How do you find and truly enjoy freedom in your business? So, what I want to talk to you a little bit about is where do you find it? How do you use your freedom? How do you truly fulfill your why in your business with freedom? So let's just talk a little bit about this because so many of you say, oh, one of the reasons I want to have an online business is I want freedom in my life. But then you are so pulled down and tied by this business, and some of you working hours upon hours, side hustle and this and that. Really don't have much freedom. And I do want to say one reason I'm glad I'm doing this today, right here. Tomorrow will be July 4th here in the United States. That's one reason I'm talking about freedom. Is I have the freedom to come here to my parents. They have 50 acres here. If we had turned this on about 3 minutes earlier, you would have seen people moving bookcases and kids coming and going. And on my homeschool one, the girls were all right there with me. Um, I have freedom to come here for 3 days. I worked for about 30 minutes this morning, sending an email to my affiliates. I'm doing 2 videos now, and that's it. Everything else is done and taken care of till I get back in the office on Wednesday. To me, that is a lot of freedom. I have the freedom to be with my family. I have the freedom to go help with my grandkids. You need to think about that because I think when you find freedom, there is a foundation that you have already dealt with, and that is your big why. It all goes back to your why. Why do you want an online business? Why, why any of this, to be honest? Wants to end my video. Why do you have an online business? What is your big reason? It needs to go beyond making money. Yes, you do need, this is not a hobby. You do need to make money, but you need a big, if all it is to make money, it's just, you're going to get exhausted. And I've had some different whys in my life. There was a season about 10 years ago that was to be able to travel. Then there was a season, the last, I would say from 2014, 15 to 2020, it was the freedom to go down about once a month to El Salvador and work with a nonprofit foundation down there. And to be able to start a school down there, to work with mamas that were in horrible situations, to work with teens to get them on the right track to following Jesus Christ. That why was big enough, and it pushed me to do things that maybe I wouldn't have that went outside my comfort zone. It also has allowed me when I have freedom to be able to use money outside of just paying the bills. And I think that's important too when we have know our why. So you need to go and think about what is your big why. I got wasps all around me. Don't want that kind of freedom. All right. So how do you use your where are you finding your freedom? Your freedom really is based in your why. And if your why is big enough, you can pretty much do anything in your business. How do you use your freedom? You know, I think you use your freedom to fulfill your why. All right. Because I have freedom to fulfill my why. I have the ability to come and work here or go to Austin. I was there a month ago for a surgery. I'll be back in 2 weeks for another surgery to help. And then my daughter needs some help while she is at teen camp. And so I will be actually running my biggest event of the whole year from Austin, and I have organized it so that I can still make money. I can still help and serve my audience, my homeschool moms, and I can be there for my grandkids. That's a lot of freedom, I would say. Last November, I did finally get to go back to El Salvador. I hadn't been back since 2020. I was able to have time with the teachers, time with the families. Here's how I ran it. I was there for about 4 days. Oh, go away, little wasp. Sorry. Um, but in the mornings, I would go to a coffee shop and I'd work. And then in the afternoons, I'd spend time with the families, evenings, the teachers. It was so wonderful. So I was still able to get some work done, but I still had the freedom to do other things besides just work. Freedoms in the afternoon and the evening to minister and to visit with people. Why can I go to El Salvador? Because God had blessed me with this business and I had extra money to be able to pay for the trip. I had the freedom to be able to work anywhere. How are you using your freedom? First of all, what's your big why? Leave a comment here, wherever you're listening, whether it's on the live or not. What's your big why? And then number two, how will you use the freedom that you want through this why? And let me know. So, how to truly fulfill your why with your business. I've told you many times I am able to leave and go help with the grandkids, and I've told you that before. Back in November, when I was in El Salvador, I had a deadline on November 18th. And despite that deadline, I still was able to have freedom in my life to do other things that were more important than just making money. I used my time wisely to meet that deadline. I was able to actually meet it ahead of schedule. And then it gave me time, more time with my family that I really didn't expect. So, how do you use your why to be more productive? So, we've talked about you got to know your why to be able to gain freedom. How are you going to use that freedom to even serve your why? How do you fulfill your why within your business? How to use your why to be more productive? When I know my why, I am so much more focused because I'm going to get that thing done. If you're all scattered, a lot of times your why is not big enough. I will just challenge you because I can guarantee you that if your why is big enough, you will find a way, even if you're a scatterbrain, to be able to focus. I'll get her done because my why is bigger than me. My why is bigger than all the distractions. My why is so big that that is what I'm going to focus on. Think about your days before you go on vacation. Think about the day before you go on vacation. How much do you get done? Usually you get done about 3 or 4 times more than what you do on any other day because you've got a deadline and your why is big and you've got to get that done so you can move forward. So let me know, what is your why? How will you use your freedom in your business to fulfill that why? I would love to hear it. It's bigger than just my family. All right. This is bigger than just my family. This is the freedom to be able to go work anywhere and be able to serve my family. All right. And so, even just there are specific things like being able to go on mission trips. That is a big why. So, I think the biggest thing is you need to know it's more than making money. And I think even for us, I will tell you one more why that we had when the kids were teenagers. We wanted our kids to know how to run a business and not be dependent on a job. And they all have jobs now, but they all have the knowledge up here if they need to be able to have that freedom to run an online business if they need to. We want